Welcome to another 10 at 10. I have a special guest today. It's Burks. And again, we're just talking more about people's testimonies, what God has done in their lives to provide for them during this pandemic, but also just in general in their lives, and how they've seen that connection, that covenant with God, that when they give, He provides for our needs and more. And so, Marcus, you've been attending Light the Bay. Do you have any idea how long? I'm trying to figure out how long it's been.
I started attending Light the Bay when I was, I think, in the 8th grade.
In the 8th grade.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've attended quite a while. So now you are married, and so that's been maybe 6, 7. No, it's been longer than that. Probably 11 years, maybe 10 years.
Well,
okay,
yeah.
so quite a while, and you've been at Light the Bay when you were younger. So that's been a wonderful thing, is just seeing you progress in your own life, in your own faith, and then also even with your wife Kayla, and how you guys have grown together. Marcus, what got you started on this journey of just trusting God for your finances? What do you think spurred you on?
I mean, I guess the easiest way to put it is just consistency. I've been tithing since I've had a job, but before I had a job, I would always see kind of struggle in my household. And I know that once I started tithing and once I started giving in my finances, that was pretty much all God. I mean, I've never had lack, and God's always provided in every aspect.
So have you seen favor at your job? Well, kind of tell us, how have you seen God provide for you? What has kind of been a series of events in your life?
I mean, my job is a big one. I started off, and every year since I've been there, I've gotten a substantial raise. It's not like a cost of living raise where I'm just getting a little bit extra, but it's always been something pretty major. Even just me getting my job, when I graduated college, my school shut down within, 3 months of me graduating.
Really?
And my degree was a piece of paper, almost worthless. I didn't have a transcript, I didn't have anything. And so even me just getting a job in my field right after getting out of college with pretty much nothing to show for, was all God. I mean,
that's amazing.
It's nothing else but Him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And did you get your job, if I remember right, someone referred the job to you, didn't they?
Yeah.
Did you even know about it?
I had no idea. So it was referred to me by one of my old classmates, and I went for my interview, and I'm not good at interviews. I've had one other interview prior than that. It was at Sears. It didn't go well. I still got the job, but I didn't even have to interview for the job. I showed up. The manager looked at me and he goes, "I'm going to show you around the facility, and if you want the job, it's yours."
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, okay. So
wow.
I mean, that was all God, because it's not my thing.
That's amazing, because actually, Marcus, when I look at your life, Marcus, you're a hard worker. And so you're a great employee to have. But just like you said, someone might not know that in an interview situation. So God just set it up for you where you got the job, and now he's an excellent employee and the company's benefiting from it. So that's awesome. Marcus, can you give us maybe just one example of how you've seen God promote you or give you a raise, and where maybe it wasn't something you were expecting? God maybe did something out of the ordinary or unexpected for you that was just evidence, again, of just His provision and His goodness in your life.
I think the first time we got our bonuses at work, I've been with the company for 4 years now, and I'd say before that, it was, that we do our quarterly meetings, our yearly meetings, it was on a pretty big decline. So they didn't have bonuses. We didn't get bonuses. It's kind of, if the company doesn't perform, if you don't perform, the bonuses don't exist. So I think it was my second year there, out of nowhere, we got a huge bonus. And it had just come right after me and my wife had given a offering that, we always tithe, but it was an offering that we weren't really planning on giving. And it was just kind of something on the inside that was like, give this amount. And it was multiplied by 10, which was
really,
it was like perfectly multiplied as to what we got and that bonus, and then a raise shortly followed after that.
Amazing.
And it was just like that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So just the fact that God had laid on your heart to give a certain amount, and then you said it was multiplied by how much?
10.
By 10,
Yeah.
that you got a bonus. So that was a pretty worthwhile. In other words, it just shows God's goodness.
Definitely.
And it also, in a lot of ways, it may show just who God is, that he was that specific, that he told you to give a certain amount, and then he multiplied that exact amount.
Yeah.
And so that just shows that God's in the details.
Yeah.
God's watching over the details in our lives. And we can trust him, not just with our lives in general, but we can trust him in the details. We can trust him to dot every I and cross every T. We can trust him for the minute things.
Yeah.
And so that's so cool. Man, I didn't even know that you were going to share that, but that's really cool that he would share something that specific of what God did in your life. So Marcus, thank you so much for sharing during this time. Marcus, do you have a last minute tidbit or a last minute thing that you'd like to share with those that are listening?
I mean, tithing is worth it, and it may not seem, giving away money doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but when it's giving it to God, the amount that you get back is always going to be greater than what you gave. And it's just, that's the way it's always been.
What I love about what Marcus said is there's something we can be generous, and God does bless generosity when giving to others, and God uses us to give to others. But there's something about putting our finances in the hands of God, and he puts his blessing on our finances. And just like Jesus, he had that little boy's lunch that was the few loaves of bread, the few fish, and the word says that he put his hands on it, he blessed it, he broke it, he distributed it, and everyone had plenty to eat, and there was more left over to come back to that little boy, more than he had to start out with. And so that's just we have a too much God. We have a more than enough God. And Marcus, thank you so much for sharing today. We hear an airplane in the background, but thank you again for just tuning in. I love to hear people's stories, because this is the real stuff. This isn't just stuff on a paper. This is the real stuff. This is God working in individuals' lives and proving that he keeps his word. So Marcus, thank you for sharing today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Stay tuned for another 10 at 10. And we're just so glad you tuned in today. We pray that this brought encouragement to you. And we just encourage you to just step up and just expect God to move. Expect God to bless your seed and to provide for your family like you've heard that he's provided for Marcus. So God bless you. You have a wonderful day.